And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. Sorry for all the lights in the background, but we are down at Ecovate 3D. As you can see, they've got plenty of printers down here. We will be doing the Maker meetup here starting at noon, which is in about an hour and a half, so we will be ending the stream about then. But welcome back in, everybody. As you know, I am a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. I do everything from machine unboxings to printer builds to various 3D printed projects, beta testing, the whole 9 yards. So welcome on in, everybody. Hey, Waters, I'm assuming I'm going to see you shortly. Morning, Petty Ruxpin, Hutch's Makerspace, Free Heathen, how's it going? If you guys hear a little bit of music or beating going in the background, the gym next door over here, like this direction, is in full swing this morning. So they're liable to kick it up when they get into their main cardio workout. So we'll have some background noise. And they're also doing some maintenance on the building with the AC up above. So we may hear some stuff throughout the stream. But welcome in, everybody. I wanted to go through and chat about a few things. The setup's going to be a little weird today, so bear with me. But here we go. This is something I've been printing lately. This is the Titan 3D Titan Fighter. So it looks very much like a Star Wars thing, right? And it's kind of weird. This is almost like, what's his name? Darth Vader's ship. With the big extended rear back here and the large panel arrays. But this is 2 pieces for the main piece, 2 pieces for the back piece, and then 2 pieces for each of the side pieces. They're held together with these bolting methods here. So it's 3D printed bolts that you just screw down, and then the stand itself locks into the bolts underneath that hold it all together. So the majority of the bolts are underneath, and every time I do this, it's easier for me to flip this over, get this line back up, there we go, and then flip it back around. But somebody asked if I would bring this down today, so here we go. My plan is to potentially fill the seams on here, though I might not. I might just paint it the way it is. And by that, I mean no sanding, no filling. I will use a pick to clean up some of the panel lines, but I am thinking about painting this as it is, because really it's gray. So a lighter gray, like a plain imperial gray, a light or a darker gray around the canopy frame with black on the inner sides, and then black on the panels themselves. So that is something that I'm probably going to do. The majority of that will be spray painted with masking tape being put in there. But even the way that the panels mount here, these are just big screws, and you have 3D printed hex key wrenches that you use to put it together. And this will be on display down here at Ecovate throughout the day. So hope everybody's doing well. We do have our coffee going today, of course, in a Digital Dragon 3D mug. So, hey, Eagle, how's it going? Yes, Clemson Tigers start at noon. I might, if I can get the game on YouTube TV here, I might put the game on in the background just so I can keep track of it throughout the day. But yeah, we'll have this down here. And by the way, all the parts for this, the stand and the top, the whole Titan 3D piece, this was built, or this was printed on the Key Tech Q2 printer. And somebody asked me, is like, stop doing shorts, you know, give us a full review. And I'm like, you cannot do a legitimate review on a 3D printer until you've put some hours on it. And right now I have about 4 days worth of printing time on it, printing this. So, and that's one type of material, multiple spools. I've gone through a little over 3 kilos doing this print. This was printed with 4 walls and 4% infill. And it's pretty hefty. Like I said, there's about 3 kilos overall between all parts of this. So it's a pretty chunky piece. Let me scoot that out of the way. And the detail on it is really good. The surface finish is really good as well. We have a couple of boxes over here. And you might be going, well, what's in the box? What's in the box? Well, one of the things in the box has my full address on it. So let me see if I can't get that off before I dox myself. I did not even think about that. Good enough. Good enough. All right. So you can't really tell, but it is an Elegoo print head. So some of you may see this and know exactly what this is, but this is a full Elegoo Orange Storm Giga print head. It's about 80 bucks online. So for those of you that might need a replacement and you like your stock hot end, it's about 80 bucks. It does have a sensor here for the bed. This is like an inductive sensor. I believe that's just an LED right there. You've got your hot end, and you've got this CAN bus board up here. The only thing I need from this is the 2 fans and the CAN bus board. Because we're going to use that to build a Blue Storm Terra. And you say, okay, well, what's the Blue Storm Terra? Well, the Blue Storm Terra is by Luke's Lab, and it is a replacement tool head for the Elegoo. It's the one he basically prototyped for 3D printing nerd, Joel Telling. Okay? And it's a do-it-yourself, so you have to put it together, but it does come with a beacon probe, some really nice aluminum parts, and they are nicely anodized, right? So, whoops, I believe that would be for the tool head to mount. And these will be the mounting wings for the fans. We've got a tube high flow. This is the conduction version, which means there's no heat sink on this. And that is basically a super volcano heater. That heater, like, this is the end of the heater, and it comes all the way down here. So you can see what that melt zone is like. Pretty much the entire thing is melt zone. PT1000 thermistor. So this is going to be the hot end. You'll notice also that there's nothing over here on the business end, so we're going to have to get like probably a 1.0 or a 1.2 nozzle for this. And we are not going to use the Elegoo anemic extruder, but we're going to be putting on an LGX Pro metal. So this is the LGX Pro extruder. that's going to be going on here as well. So that is our upgrade path for a tool head. For this bad boy right here. For the brains, we're going to bring in, I believe I'm going to go with the Manta M5P with a CB1 or a CB2. Probably a CB2. And we'll put a display on this as well. Probably on an arm that we can swing out, because might as well put a big display on it. And we will use some of the other electronics that are in here, such as the external drivers for the NEMA 23 motors that are, and we may run them at a higher voltage. So, yep, techno side, it's a tube. It is a tube. So yeah, I'm excited to start working on this. I might work on this some today during the Maker Meetup session. Because I do have somebody coming down that's going to take certain parts off that Orange Storm, or yeah, the Orange Storm Giga toolhead. So I am going to have to take that apart today anyhow. Yeah, it does. The tubes do not come with nozzles installed. You can order a nozzle with it, but unless you ask Arduino nicely to do it, it will not be installed from the get-go. So we will have to get a tube nozzle for it. And I'll double check whether it's a standard, pretty sure it's a standard nozzle and not a volcano or super volcano nozzle. Even though it's a super volcano heater. Yeah, standard V6 nozzle. And I'll come over here to the main camera because I don't think that one will get close enough, but yeah, that's a standard V6. So I'll talk with, let me talk to West 3D, and I will see if I can get Daniel to send us or bring us, maybe we can get him to bring it to the show, a 1.0 or larger Undertaker nozzle. Because that's what I'm running, is a 1.0 Undertaker on my Tube Air on the Trident 350 that's running the takeoff tool head with the FXD extruder. Hey. Thank you much. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yep, that's good. Thank you. Thank you. Package delivery. Nice clubhouse. Yeah, so I am down at Ecovate 3D today. Like I said, they've got plenty of printers here. You may see some things over here in the corner. Let me switch back over to the bench side view. And we've got the Optimus P1 over here. And not only do we have an Optimus P1, which is the 600 by 600 by 1000 printer that we've been working on, but it had a baby. Some of you guys will recognize this because this is Mercury Rising. When we rebuilt the Mercury and we decided it was just going to basically be a whole new printer rather than a rebuild, I brought this down here. We're going to, the person that's going to take over this printer is going to buy the rest of the parts to bring it back up and running. Some linear rails and stuff like that. And something to compensate me, and then we'll, that'll be going to somebody new. Let me check, Waters. It does say GoFo, and it does, yeah. It is GoFo. So, hey, somebody was here. It just happened to be me. And then when I pan the camera around here, you'll see a couple of printers over here. This is the Prusa Mini, and this is Kyber Dragon, our LDO 2.4 that we've upgraded to a Rev D. So I'm going to rebuild the box turtle for this as well, but right now, whoops, that wasn't good. I just pulled the entire quarter 20 thing out of that. So I did bring the Micron. And at the very least, we're going to sit here while we chat and chill, and we'll work on the Micron a little, because I got in, these are JST SH connectors, right? And once again, this is a 8-pin connector. So which one's the 8-pin? The 8-pin that has a bunch of 2-pins in there. Okay. So I'll come in here to try and show you guys this, but that is an 8-pin connector. I cannot tell if that's actually in focus or not. And that's the pin. These things are super tiny. They are tinier than the pH connectors that go on the SB2209. And that was why there was absolutely no way I was going to attempt to do those connectors. So as it is, I'm going to have to try and do regular DuPont connectors on the other side, but we'll get there when we get there. Not a new office, Druid. I'm down at Ecovate 3D. It is a local 3D printing store here in Raleigh, North Carolina. I hold a maker meetup here once a month. And so that happens at noon. So normally what happens is I don't stream on the maker meetup day just because I'm down here from noon until about 7. And if I stream at the house at the Dragon's Den, I'm about an hour away. So there's no way I could be here and really stream unless I start streaming way early. And as it is, I start streaming at 10, which is 7 a.m. on the West Coast. There's the coffee Pez, Liz, with the Digital Dragon 3D mug. And believe it or not, I brought a mug down, and I bought a Keurig over at the Walmart and brought it over here and set it up so that I can bring down some Black Rifle coffee. So I'm drinking Black Rifle coffee in my Digital Dragon 3D mug at Ecovate 3D. Yep. Do you have coffee, Liz? And if Hector ever sees this, Hector sent me a coupon code and told me to buy a few of his shirts and wear them down here if I'm ever down here streaming. So this is because Control Z won't fix a clogged nozzle, and it's got Fabreeko.com, and the honey badger sitting there with his credit card out getting ready to purchase a new nozzle. Water for now, just got a shower. Oh, okay. There you go. Waters has some coffee. Good. So we need 3 pins out of this 8-pin connector. And let me switch over to the browser window here, which is going to switch over to that camera. Sorry about the reflection off I don't have, let me, seriously, that. We'll scroll this down a little bit. We'll move this over here for this particular website. But what I need to do is kind of look down through here and find the pinout for that cable. And see, because if I remember right, these two cables here, which is the ground and the power, swap. So the power is the topmost cable here, but it's the second here, and then this one, which is the ground, switches over to the metal pin here, and then the third one will be the signal that goes into the end stop. This is designed to go on the end stop on the, they suggest an octopus board. So we'll have to look up the Leviathan and the octopus boards just to make sure the pinout's the same. Well, I guess we don't need to. Leviathan. Yeah, we'll look up the manual. Oh, we don't need to look up the manual. We need to look up the manual. Wow. We need to look up the EBB 36 because that's what we're actually installing it onto is EBB 36. So EBB can, I believe it's the 1.1, 1.2. Pen. And where we're going to be suggested to plug everything in is down here on the probe. So the PB8 and ground will be the filament runout sensor, and then the PB9, the 5 volt, and the ground will be coming from the piezo sensor. Hey, Hutch's Makerspace, how's it going? So once again, I'm just wanting to validate. I think that's why I wanted to look at the pinout of a octopus. Wow, that was so not what I wanted. Not the Octopus Pro. At least this will get me into Bigger Tech. Repositories. Octopus, octopus, octopus. Where are you at? Okay, the octopus, pinout, and the end stops, power, ground, signal. Power, ground, signal. So looking at this, power, ground, signal. So at the piezo side, it would be ground, power, signal. Based on how this goes. Power, ground, signal. Yes. I'm just trying to make sure, because the last thing I want to do is blow out a piezo sensor and have to get a new one. So what I'm going to try and do is dig through the little cables they gave me here and find potentially a red, a black, and then we'll go with like the yellow. Okay. And looking at the connector as well, whoops, the connector and the diagram here. Let me see if I can, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah. So looking at the diagram and the connector, it's not showing the rear side where the pins go in. It's showing the front side on the left side of this diagram here. So ground would be this one connector right here. So we'll go with ground there. Wow. Good gracious. Ground. Okay. Then power. And then a signal. Okay. So once again, looking at it from this side, we'll have ground at the top, power in the middle, and then our signal. When we go into the other side, we'll just need to make sure that we have power, ground, and signal in the right order. So, yeah, I hope everybody's doing well today. Like I said, sorry about the different views. I'm trying to use my laptop camera and then a C920, I believe it is, for the other camera. I did not bring the Tiny 2 today, which probably would have been a little bit better video quality, but I completely forgot it. Okay, so we've got these three ready to go, and what I will do is I will trim off the end of this and even see if I can get a standard JST connector on there. I doubt it. Or I'm sorry, once again, this is not a JST. This is going to be a DuPont connector on the EBB 36. So let me grab some DuPont pins out. This is a 5-way connector. Five and five. Not sure if I'm going to like how much space we have there. Okay, so we have our DuPont connector. We've got crimpers. We'll need our strippers. And like I said, I'm going to just cut the existing connectors off here, and then we're going to try and figure out what our length should be. So I'll go ahead and get this plugged in. And then basically try and see what our wire length should be. We're going to go something like that. And on the back side of one of these wires, I'm going to just try and crimp one of these ends on to see if I'm going to even be able to get a decent crimp on these. Holy crap. There is not much wire there at all. Not much wire. We're going to try and go into our smallest connector. And then we'll see if this will, yeah, didn't stay on. And I did not bring my soldering stuff. I may wind up having to solder extensions onto these because I'm not going to get good connections here. Either that or I crimp down on it and then I come back and kind of crimp down on it with just a standard set of pliers, which might be something I'll have to do as well. I am basically using the 38 or 28 to 32 American wire gauge, and it seems to be too big still. I do have a go bag. That's what I'm using is my go bag. I do, actually, yeah, that's right. I do have my soldering iron here with me. I should be able to solder wires here. And I mean, worst case scenario is I steal some solder from these guys, but I'm pretty sure I do have it. Yeah, TS 101. I'm assuming they have some solder in the back. If not, then I will be butt out, but I'm pretty sure they do have solder in the back. USB-C to USB-C. Should have one of those cables in here. So I've got the cable, I've got that. Do I not have solder? I think that's going to be the one thing I did not throw in the bag is solder. So I will have to run to the back and try and find some solder. So bear with me, folks. I will be right back momentarily as I go and grab some solder. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and mute the mic. Okay, so hey Waters, you want to come in and find the solder? So for now, what I'm going to do is put this back away because I can't find the solder. I'll just be nice and say I cannot find the solder. So yeah, we're still going to be on pause for getting the probe done on this, which means I think we're still in a holding pattern on the whole thing because of that. And I did notice earlier that when I did a home X, home Y, I think Y moved the X again. So I think the Y motor might be backwards, which was really, really weird. And I was doing it from the screen, which shouldn't make a difference, but other than just making that statement of I was doing it from the screen. I guess we can go ahead and do the 2-pin here, and then we'll work on the other 3 once I can extend the wires. Well, I'm pretty sure you know where it's at. I'm just going to be polite and say I can't find anything in your maintenance area. All right. Hey, Jedi Spidey, how is it going? Hope you're doing well. So we broke out our JST SH 1.0 connectors, and they are these little things. And you're not going to be able to tell probably, but there is a strip piece of wire right there, and it is so fine that scrunching the DuPont connector on at using the smallest setting on my crimpers, which is 28 to 32 American wire gauge, and it slips right off. So we're going to have to do some soldering to ensure that these don't go anywhere. I'm going to have to solder these into some larger wire, and then we'll go from there. Oh yeah, Muklepticon, welcome on in. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for the lurk, Petty Ruxpin. You're bringing a project to assemble as well? Awesome. Awesome, Jedi Spidey. You should offer your services as a 5S lean contractor. Yeah. Yeah. All right. These two are garbage. Let me put that over there with the garbage stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and switch cameras over to the tripod so you guys can see at least a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be taking the end off this. We're going to come down and we're going to get this set up to loop right in here to these first 2 pins of the 5-pin connector. So we're going to do something like that. We're trying to keep these tucked in tight, bringing them right down around and up, because we need to keep all of these very, very tight just due to the amount of room we have back here. And this wire here, which is our RGB, I've trimmed it down some, and I'm wondering if I'm going to have to trim it down again, just because, like I said, there's not a lot of room right back here when this comes all the way back. To illustrate that point, when it comes right like that, there's not a lot of room. So, yeah, we'll be working that. And I'm going to cut this right at the connector. I'll toss that over there. We'll go ahead and throw some DuPonts on these. So for those of you just joining in, I am down at Ecovate 3D. This is my local 3D printing store. And I'm holding the Maker Meetup here in about an hour. So if you're in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and you want to come down and visit, it is 6701 Glenwood Avenue, Suite 104. And yeah, I will be down here for the next few hours. So come on down, hang out, and enjoy chatting with other local makers, show off your projects. Jedi Spidey last month brought in his Master Chief build, and I put that in the wrong place. There's another dead one. Actually, can I actually crimp that in the next smaller size, and will it still go? Ay, 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 ay. It's going to be the day. It's going to be that kind of day. Thank you. So at least have 2 of the 5 crimped. And then when Waters comes in today, we'll see if he's got some wire that we can also use to extend these a little bit with a little bit thicker gauge wire. I do not know what to say to myself right now. Wire in. Fully squeeze. Okay, why do you crimp on one and not the other? Okay, so for giggles, you guys probably love when I talk to myself, huh? All right, so we got 2 there. Just get your wire stretcher. It's right next to the bolt stretcher. Exactly, exactly. Muklektathan. Gotcha. Yeah, you know, the wire strippers, the wire stretchers, go get me 50 foot of flight line. It's during your weekly grocery run, you got to talk to the kids about changing our weekend schedule. Well, the nice thing there, Muklepticon, bring the kids. Bring the kids. There's plenty of cool things in here for them to see and stuff like that. So bring the kids. And besides, I'm going to be here all day long. Okay, so let me look at the EBB pinout again. So we've got the signal pin and a ground pin. So the red pin is going to go into PB8. Ground will go into ground for the probe. So ground goes into ground. Red will go into PB8. All right. And then once again, this is going to come down, loop around, and plug in. Like so. There's just enough wire there. Good. And like I said, this is going to loop around, come in as well for the other three. So we should have just enough room to sneak that in there. Awesome. But yeah, and that's pretty much all I can do on this at this point in time until we can get the other wires extended. We can try and turn it on and do some stuff from the front panel. I don't want to go through the hassle of changing it from my wireless network over to the wireless network down here, because I just have to change it back when I get to the house, and it's not hard, it's just a pain and annoying. So basically something I don't want to do. Because I'm going to be lazy right now, basically. That goes there. That goes there. That apparently wants to go down on the floor. All right. So we've got the printer, and what I'm going to do real fast, since we got a couple of new people on here, is we're going to show off the print again. This is the Titan3D.com Titan Fighter. Okay, where? I don't know which one that was. That, okay, that one's that one. Maybe that was the alert. Probably the alert. Okay. There we go. So this is the Titan 3D Titan Fighter. See you soon, more? Okay. You got to run. You'll be on your way up soon. Okay, cool. So this is the Titan 3D Fighter. It is basically a TIE fighter. It is assembled with some bolts. It's like these two, there's little plates and bolts that assemble this together. And it does have some little keying tabs, but this is, in essence, a TIE fighter. Not the TIE bomber, because the TIE bomber had the dual cockpit, but this is that wider one, kind of like Darth Vader's ship was. Yeah. And you'll see these little pieces like this right here. These are the bolts. And I'll lift this up and I'll show you the bolts on the bottom side. So these pieces are keyed together with little keys and then bolted together. And then several of the bolts tie in with this, or line up with this. And that is what makes the whole thing sit on the stand. And there's two versions of the stand, one that just has it sitting straight up, and then one that has it in this banking flying position. And this is available, it's Titan3D.com. And this was a set of free files. So I don't know what scale this is in relation to the real TIE fighters. But this is printed at the 100% scale of the files. I did not scale this up any. So this is the the full size that the file prints. There's 2 pieces for this center section, 2 pieces for the rear, and then 2 pieces for each of the wing panels. And then you'll have the bolts and all of the joining pieces. Like you'll see here, here's a bolt. So these 2 panels joined together with, there's 4 alignment tabs, and then there's 1 on top and 1 on bottom from the inside for the bolts that holds it together. And then this bolt bolts through with an alignment tab back here in the center section. Yeah, that's the thing, is I don't know what the scale is to the real TIE fighter. You know, I don't know if it's like a 1/8 or 1/10 or whatever. But these are, I did not resize the files. So these are the way that the files come. And what I'm thinking about doing is I'm not going to like try and seal in the gaps of the print lines, I don't think. I may take a pick and go through and clean up some of the panel lines a little bit. And then I'm thinking I'm just going to filler primer it, sand down that filler primer, and then paint it in a light gray, do some dark gray on the canopy here, black in the middle of the canopy, do some shading black down here, black on the panels, and call it good. But I don't think I'm going to fill the seams. Maybe main body and then the 2 panels. I want to be able to break this down if I need to for transport. But all of this was printed on the Keytech Q2. And like you can see some layer lines. You know, you're going to see layer lines on any printer, right? But overall, this thing is printing well. The outer walls on here, it was all stock settings, and the outer walls, I think, were printed at 120 or 150 millimeters a second. And I'll try and bring this closer so that you can see some of the details on here. Right? It printed extremely well. You know, there's plenty of detail, whoops, on the parts to include the base. And yeah, like I said, the layer lines are really good. If you're able to come down and check this out in person, you know, I wanted to leave this nice and raw print for everybody to take a look at just so they could see. The only thing that I changed, right, was the recommended walls and infill. So it was 4 walls, 4% infill. Everything else on that print is stock Keytech Q2 print, right? So now the other thing that we can do is, like I said, I do need to take apart that Orange Storm Giga tool head. By the way, God, why? There we go. Public service announcement. When you plug your laptop in, make sure that it's charging, because that's an indicator of whether or not you turned your power strip on. Just saying. This has been a public service announcement from Digital Dragon 72. Yeah, because apparently I happened looking at, why is my laptop not charging? Because I never turned the power strip on. That's... And I'm show ready, right? We're show ready. So by the way, the 0G Mercury 1, Magenta Rising, that one, I was printing with that yesterday. I Oh, hey, Diablo Spawn. Welcome on in. Sorry I missed your first time chat there. I very much apologize. Excuse me. I very much apologize. Yes, so I am down at Ecovate 3D, and we've got the Idea Former IR3V2. This is a belt printer, $1,000. We've got some AMS2s, some AMSHTs. We've got the A1 Mini combos, the A1 Minis. We've got some A1s and a couple A1 combos. These just recently came in. We've got the 85Xs here. This is the multicolor flash forge printer that has the 4 spools that sit on the right side of the printer. And they still have one more of the FlashForge Adventure 5M Pro, which is the enclosed one. The Adventure 5X is not an enclosed printer. I believe they're going to come out with an enclosure, or there will probably be an aftermarket one. But yeah, like I said, I am down today at the local 3D printing shop in Raleigh, North Carolina, Ecovate 3D. It's 6701 Glenwood Avenue, Suite 104, next to Haverty Furniture. I'm down here because at noon, in about a half hour, the store is going to open, and I am hosting the Maker Meetup down here. I host the Maker Meetup down here one Saturday each month. I was doing mornings one month and then evening the next month, and then I just realized I'm pretty much just camping out here all day, so we're just doing it all day. So come on down anytime between noon and 7 and with the store opening hours, and I will probably be here. You're getting a Snapmaker U1, but 6 months from now, once the bugs are worked out. That makes sense. They do have a Snapmaker U1 here. It's sitting right over here at the front of the store. Oh, wow. So let me do this. Like, I obviously was not paying attention. So here we go. So we've got the FlashForge 85X. Once again, this is a 4-spool filament changing system, which obviously is, it's basically like the AMS light that's bolted onto the side here. You've got your 4, we'll call them the pre-extruders. There's motors in here that will bring your filament and load it up into the main extruder here. But this is basically the 4-into-1 right at the tool head, a la A1 or A1 Mini. And then over here at the front, we do have the Snapmaker U1. This is the actual 4 tool head changer setup. 2 spools on each side come around into their individual heads, and they don't have, they were trying to do a setup where you could see the amount of poop for each type of print. So here is your Flexi Dragon, and that's the amount of poop and purge. Where if you do this with the Snapmaker, you'll have a smaller purge tower than this and 0 poop. So kind of differences between a multicolor single tool head setup and a tool changer setup. Okay. So yeah, they do have that Snapmaker U1 down here, but I do agree that I would wait a little bit. Your loyal listener has you on next to him, but he's out like a light. I can imagine, Mrs. Dragon. I'm sure that he is still trying to work the anesthesia out of his system from yesterday. Are you saying the box with the Flexi Dragon is purge poop from an AMS? Yes. So that was printed on the 85X, and the 85X is basically a flash forge with, and it's basically like an AMS light. So it has the same kind of tension spool holders as the AMS light, with a 4 into the tool head. And so it does have to cut the filament at the tool head and purge that old filament out and the new color. So yes, it is a 4-color single tool head, which means you have to purge. Whether you're doing an MMU3, an AMS, a CFS, the ACE from, the CFS is Creality, the ACE is the Anycubic, the 85X, or any multicolor system that uses a single tool head, you have to either deal with tip forming or cut the filament, and you're going to have to do some type of purge prime tower to ensure that you've purged out the last color and primed the new color before you go back to the print. So you are going to have waste. With the Snapmaker, because it's a tool changer, each tool head has the different color installed, so it doesn't need to purge it. It just needs to prime that nozzle to make sure it's getting a consistent flow. So it doesn't have, it will have a prime block, but it won't be as big, right? You don't need to prime a lot. Now, what I was going to do is come over to Luke's laboratory. We're going to go look at the tool head upgrades. Tool head conversion. And what I wanted to see is if there is a link on here to the instructions. Elegoo Orange Storm Giga to Blue Storm Terra Toolhead Conversion Kit. This is what we're going to be working on. So what problem is this mod trying to solve? It is a significant upgrade in flow, right? So enhanced performance and volumetric speeds up to 120 millimeters cubed per second. That's volumetric flow rate out of the hot end, not movement of the hot end. And that's with the tube and the LGX Pro combination, right? Once again, as we talked about earlier, the tube here has a super volcano. So the heat element is like that. That's the length of the heating element. So it's really big. Improved reliability from an extremely resilient hot end that can take punishment from nozzle strikes. Print lifting and overtension nozzle changes without breaking thanks to the titanium structural shroud. M3 Torx hardware throughout, so there's no more stripping of the screws from trying to use just a standard hex Allen key. 6 18 millimeter bolt pattern for secure mounting, and integrated stainless steel cooling shield protects against thermal shock. So you'll have a superior bed meshing solution because you're going to the beacon probe from the built-in IR system, and some future proofing. So, and once again, we are going to be building this tool head and using it in the Optimus P1 over here. This is the FebTop Optimus P1. This is this cabinet over here with the blue stripe on it. This is a uh, 600 by 600 by 1000 millimeter printer. It uses HGT or HGM, whatever, 15 millimeter rails. I mean, the rails are massive on this. 15 millimeter belts and 16 millimeter ball screws. So this thing is very massive, very robust. It looks like they have locked a couple of the wheels, but it looks like a network cabinet. It does have the old Ender 5. This is Mercury Rising sitting in here on the tool bed because why not? It has a glass bed. It has a chamber heater. It uses external drivers for the Z motors, which are NEMA 23s. So yeah, we're going to be replacing this tool head in here, which is a standard Super Volcano tool head with the tube setup. So folks, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and mute real fast. Give me 1 second. Well, you know, that is kind of a standard there is, you know, chat talks amongst themselves all the time because I do tend to lose track of chat sometimes. So, but yeah, this is going to be a replacement tool head for this printer right here. This printer basically had a Super Volcano, no, a standard Volcano hot end with a 0.4 nozzle that was a copper nozzle. As it is, the tool head that was in it had obviously had a thermal runaway event based on the charring that was on the metal mount parts. So I took that off, I cleaned everything up, I replaced everything. So it's running a titanium bimetal heat break, a nickel-plated copper E3D heat block with a 60-watt heater, a PT1000 thermistor, and a hardened steel nozzle in it. In fact, I could probably steal the hardened steel nozzle out of that for this, but I think it's still a 0.4 that's in there. And I hadn't gone ahead and put anything bigger in it yet. But I'm going to basically replace that entire tool head, and we're going to custom fabricate a drop mounting bracket that the Blue Storm Terror is going to mount to. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So that's going to be the next upgrade. We're going to take the standard controller board out of this, which is an old, it's an MKS Gen, what was it, MKS Gen 1.4 running Marlin. It's got a custom Marlin build because there was a laser module option for this. So all that software is here. What we're going to do is we're going to take the screen off. We're going to take this board out. We're going to come up with a mounting solution for a Manta M5P with a CB2 module, and that will let us run a DSI display. And I believe the Raspberry Pi now has a 10-inch display that you can get, and we'll fabricate some type of mount so that it can basically fold out, be used, and you can fold it back to keep it out of the way. It does have a mains voltage chamber heater, mains voltage bed heater. It's currently running a 800 watt 24 volt power supply. And like I said, the Z motors are these external, kind of like a DMT whatever that you were used to using for a CNC machine, right? So this is colloquially the beast. It hasn't run very well. We have printed some things with it using the new nozzle to make sure that it mechanically functions. Now we're going to bring it into the 21st, well, more into the 21st century with some new tech, because this was originally out, I want to say, in the early 2000s. So that's kind of where we're going with this. So yeah, we're just going to keep working on it, making it better. So let me go ahead and we'll flip over to the instructions, and we'll start working on this, since I can't work on the other one just yet until we can get some solder available. Come back over here to the browser window. Thanks for purchasing the toolhead upgrade. Prep, get some tools. Okay. So tool-wise, we need some drivers. LDO driver kit. The Torx bits, I don't think I need the Torx bits right away. Wrench, socket driver, adjustable wrench for standoffs. Yep, we'll work on that. Some side cutters, we got some of those around here as well. Measuring tool, yep, we can find that. So we want to verify we have everything we need. We kind of went through the box before. We do have the tube conduction. We do have the USB to beacon cable. The extruder motor cable would be in there with the extruder motor. Aluminum plates, those were all there. The 3D printed beacon mount, I don't have. I am going to be printing that. And here's one of the cool things. Now that we're done printing all the PLA and we've tested the Q2 with the PLA, the next thing we're going to do is start printing some PPSCF. So I'm going to print that mount in PPSCF and a couple other mounts in PPSCF. And we're going to test out its capability of printing that material, which is going to print at a chamber of 60, a bed of 120, I believe, and a tool head temperature of 320. So that's our plan there. That's going to be some Polymaker PPCF or PPSCF. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, we've got the beacon. Unload filament. No filament. We have a bare tool head. Remove the tool head from the system. It's already removed. Yep, don't need. And bring the removed tool head to your work area for disassembly. That's basically where we're at. Now we're going to tear down our stock tool head. And once again, this is a brand new tool head. I bought the tool head because we're going to need the CAN bus board off of it and the fans. So there is our tool head. And we're going to start by removing the two screws at the front that hold the shroud onto the back panel here. And those are M3 button heads, which will be a 2mm driver, or M3x6 button heads to be precise. And now we can remove that plastic shroud from it. And if you've ever wanted, there is the Orange Storm Giga tool head. That is not what I wanted. Close that. Give me that. Hey, the Dark Lord, how's it going? Welcome on in. So yeah, this is basically a heat shield area and a good mounting point. We've got the IR sensor that it uses to do the bed leveling. We've got what appears to be a light right down here for the tool head. You've got your 50-15 fans on the other side. We're going to need those. You've got the motor for the extruder. Don't really need that either. We're going to need that tool head board. And yeah, we're just going to see how much more of this we're going to take off. So yeah, welcome on in, the Dark Lord. I hope you're doing well. Turn over onto the right side and unplug the fan on the right side. Turn onto the right side. Okay. Remove the fan. Then remove the 2 hex head screws, followed by 2 Phillips head under it for the opposite side fan shroud. Okay. So fan cable here. Which one am I removing now? Unplug the fan. All right, this must be the hot end fan, which is the lower 2-pin connector on here. Please tell me they did not. Okay. It's like, please tell me they did not, whatchamacallit, hot glue these in. They didn't. They're just, there we go. And these are some of those stupid, crazy little connectors. So remove that, which will give us access to some of the other screws underneath here. So we're going to take those 2 screws off, and then we're going to remove the larger fans. So we'll go ahead and use our 2mm driver to get those out. Get the fan off here. Okay, and this goes around into the back. So I'll leave that out here for now. And this is Phillips head screwdriver. Hey, 3D Mac Vince, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. We are working right now to take apart a Orange Storm Giga tool head. This is a brand new tool head, and we're disassembling it to harvest some of the parts that we're going to need for the Blue Storm Terra build that we're going to build up and put over on the Optimus P1. Okay, last, remove the top, left, and right Phillips screws from the main frame, or the metal frame. Save the Phillips screws, we will reuse them. Okay. Flip over the tool head onto its right side in order to get at the screws for the left fan shroud. Okay, so we'll take the left fan off. Well, actually, just tells us just take the other two screws up here off. So let's take those off. There's those two, and this one. There we go. So there's those 4 small screws. Is this whole thing going to come off or not? Probably. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. With those screws out, we can now pivot the shroud outward to gain access to the fan shroud screws on the left side. Okay, so we're going to take that, we're going to pivot it outward. Pivot it. Why are you not pivoting? Everything's undone there. You should pivot. Oh, there we go. Pivot it outward and unplug and remove the fan. The fans are both in the back of the so we've got the sensors there that are held in with zip ties. Let me find some snips. I'll cut those 2 zip ties. Snip, 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 snips. The one time I'm looking for snips and there's not 15 pairs of them sitting around. That'll work. Thank you, sir. Okay. So I'm just going to snip the 2 wire ties there that are holding on the sensors on these front shroud. And where just needs to flex out. One pin goes there. Other sensor goes here. And then once again, the 2 fans are in the back, on the back panel here. So we'll need to pull those 2 connectors, which might be easier said than done, just because of where they're at. Here we go. And there's our 2 fans and the fan shroud itself from the extruder and hot end piece. Now, unplug all the plugs on the tool board and remove the single hex head screw holding the board in place. You can now remove the tool board. The single hex head screw that's holding the board in place. Whoops. Okay, actually we need to remove these 3 screws so we can take this off the board, or off the back. Just silver leafing your Sauron. Oh, that's nice. That's like full Sauron armor and you're silver leafing it. Would it be better to do, well, I was going to say like would rub and buff work, but I'm just thinking silver leafing, that's a long process. What is the Blue Storm Terra build? The Blue Storm Terra is Luke's lab. It is their upgrade to the Orange Storm Giga toolhead. Basically what we're doing is we're harvesting the fans and the CAN bus board here, and we're going to be replacing the hot end and the extruder with a tube conductive hot end and a LGX Pro extruder. So we've now removed everything from this tool board. We have the one M3 bolt that comes through here, holding that tool board on now. It does have a little nylon washer. And then there's our Elegoo CAN bus board. And there is the rest of the hot end extruder assembly. Congrats, you are done disassembling the stock tool head and can start building your new one. So we're going to need the fans, the fan ducts, and the board. So we'll go ahead and pull these other 2 fans off. The other two fan bolts. There's our 2 fans, the board, and we'll need the ducts down here, and the ducts are held on with some tiny Phillips head screws. And I do mean tiny Phillips head screws. So there's one. And 2. And once again, it uses a IR sensor for bed leveling, and this is a LED light for the tool head. Okay. Yeah, so this is an upgrade for the Orange Storm Giga that's going to use a tube conduction with a supervolcano heater, so melt zone, and a LGX Pro extruder. And we're building it because we're going to put it on this beast back here in the corner, which is the Optimus P1 from FebTop, which is no longer a functioning company. But this beast back here is a 600 by 600 by 1,000 millimeter build volume. So that's what we're doing, because right now it's got a volcano hot end with a 0.4 nozzle in it. and we're going to upgrade to the tube and put like a 1 or a 1.2 millimeter nozzle in it so that we can start pushing some serious volumes and actually get prints that happen in a week instead of 2-3 weeks. All right, tools needed is 2.5 millimeter hex driver. We've got those. Aluminum tool plate, M3 by 8 socket head screws, the tube conduction, and optionally some thermal grease. Optionally, before installing tube on the tool plate, it's recommended but not required that you add a small amount of thermal compound to the top of the tube before installing. This will increase thermal conductivity and allow your hot end to work without a heat sink fan. Okay, so what we're going to be adding is a beacon probe. The Bondtech LGX Pro extruder. Our tube conduction. Okay, so once again, this is our thermistor, which is a PT1000. This is our heater. That heater is literally between my 2 fingers. That's how long that heater core is. So that's a massive heater in here. Yeah. And it does say to use some thermal paste. Now what I do have is some Slice Engineering boron nitride thermal paste. So we can put a little bit of this on there. Excuse me, folks. Hey, you got a giga? Hey, Blank Soy, how are you doing? Soy, were you the one that we were talking to yesterday on the Ecuvate Discord? Sorry about that, folks. And yeah, so what's up next? Yes, we need our metal plate. Metal plate, our tube hot end, our thermal paste, and some M3 by 8 socket head screws. I've got those as well. I don't think any came in the kit, but I've got plenty. Button heads. It's always got to be the one all the way at the bottom. And I say that, and all of my M3 by 8s got used for another project. It's okay. Let me double check that the socket head screws will actually fit down in there. Yeah. And 3x8 socket or button heads will work as well. So we'll use button heads for this particular part of the application. And what it's telling us to do is put some boron nitride paste around the edge here to allow for better thermal conductivity. Now we got to be careful that we don't get it right in the area where the, we don't want to get it right in the area around the circle where the filament tube inlet would be. We could potentially just cut a small piece of PTFE tube to make sure we don't get any down in there. I will be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to grab a short piece of PTFE tubing. Bear with me. Okay, folks, store's open now, technically. So I'm going to go ahead and have to cut the live stream now. Sorry about that, but yes, the individual I was just talking to was the guy that came. I'm swapping out the parts of the Giga I'm not using to him so that he can get his back up because he got a blob of death on his. And yeah, I'm going to continue doing this build because once again, it is going to go on the Optimus P1 behind us. Don't worry, there's going to be plenty of builds there as we go through, or streams there as we go through and install. You know, we have to custom fabricate the bracket to mount this tool head on there. We're going to have to run or set up a whole new motherboard on it or controller on it and get that set up and going. So there's going to be a lot more content on the Optimus P1. But thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for all the support you guys give me throughout the year. If you're going to 3D Printopia, stop by and say hi. I will have a booth down on the main floor right across from LDO Motors, right next to Ecovate 3D, and I can't remember who's on the other side of me, but I will be on the main floor down there. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and I will see you all next time. I would raid out, but I'm not set up the normal way to try and figure out who to raid into. If somebody can tell me somebody that's up that I can raid into, I will go ahead and get a raid started. Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and hold the stream here. So thank you all for being here, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye now.